Alright, so I just grabbed myself a wee chair there so I could get my face into the shot. This here is known as the neck cavity, this area here, and it's just basically where the neck down into. Now, you remember on this guitar, whenever I was taking it apart, it was wiggly, and there was about this much movement in the neck. Now, I think the bit of work that we have done has probably solved that problem, but I'll not really know until I get the screws back into it. So whenever this guitar was finished with this gold and black paint finish, the person has taken off the neck and had sprayed the hole inside of the cavity, and that left it that the neck didn't have a flat surface to sit down on top of. So I'm hoping now that I have that flat enough where I can just put these screws back in here, tighten them up, and we're not going to have any more sort of problems. Okay. The other thing about this guitar, there was different screws on the front than what was on the back. And I think I've got them in the right way right now. Whenever this guitar was put back together the first time, I think what happened was somebody used a drill, and probably a very powerful drill, and just drove these screws in as hard as they could. And that was one of the main reasons why the neck was loose. It's because the screws had just been put in too hard and put in by a drill or a machine. And when you put the screws in by a drill, you can't really control the pressure the way you can whenever you're doing it by hand. So it always helps if you can do it by hand to do it by hand. And when I mean by hand, I don't mean that they're screwing it in with your fingers. I mean so I can feel that getting down and biting in. Now, whenever you're doing a thing like this here, always make sure that the screw is loose in the holes that are in the body, but tight on the holes that are in the neck. So but by the time you come to tighten up these 4 screws at the end, if there's a bit of a gap here, you're going to pull that gap closed at the end, rather than just tighten up against the body. You should really only be tightening up against the neck. Okay. So I can already see that we're going to have some problems with getting this in. I can definitely tell that somebody has had problems with these screws before, because this screwdriver is really, I find it very hard to grip these heads. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this neck back off and make sure that I haven't went into the wrong hole, which, you know, it's a possibility. Like, I can already tell when I look at this that these definitely haven't went into the wrong hole. It's just a very tight fit now. Yeah. At least I'm sure I'm going to get a good fit. I really don't know why the other two ever went missing in the first place. It seems an unusual thing to lose. Or maybe it was taken apart and then just, you know, they picked up the wrong screw. Maybe this was a screw for something else. In fact, yes, I actually know where these screws belong. These screws belong here. So that's what has happened. It's all starting to make sense now. So I reckon what happened here is that these screws here were taken out as well, because these definitely look a lot more like the ones that were there. So I'll put these ones in. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Okay, there's a very strong bite there as well. I only after putting a good amount of torque on that there, and it's definitely holding well. So I'll just remove this one as well now. You need just to be careful if you're having to remove this, that this doesn't become unsoldered. This is the guitar, this wee wire here, you get them on pretty much all this type of setup of bridge. It's always wired in there. If you've got a Les Paul type bridge, it's usually soldered in on one of the posts of the bridge. Okay. Yes, that's the four screws in, and as you can see if I bring this in a bit closer, they're all the right screws. We've also got the screws in here on this part here, and they went in an awful lot easier than they were going into the back of the neck, which wasn't sort of surprising considering that's where they were meant to go. Now it's a matter of us getting the strings back on this and giving it the once over and seeing what way we're going to be looking at the end of all this. Now, I just want to check firstly to make sure that there's no movement, and there's definitely no movement in the neck. I'm really putting a good bit of pressure on there, and that neck is staying lovely and still, which is a good thing. Now the next thing that we want to be having a quick look at is these tuning machines up at the top here. And we were talking earlier on, we were saying that some of them are very, very loose. That one in particular is very, very loose. Every screwdriver here should just be perfect for these. Give them all a wee tighten up. Then next thing you want to do is flip over once again, and sometimes these here can be loose as well. So, and another thing that can happen with these, sometimes now this one here might be a lot tighter the turn than this one here, might be very loose. So in order to get these all in around the same kind of, feeling the same when you're turning them, there's a wee screw on the top. Now don't just screw it like that there, because you're not actually tightening it. All you're doing is just tuning. So stop this part from moving and then just tighten or loosen, whatever you need to. Those two there, that's okay, that's okay. This one here is a wee tiny bit loose. So I'm going to tighten this one a wee bit. It really doesn't take much. Yeah, a bit loose there as well. Yes, feeling more like it. And this one here as well. Okay, so not only do you tighten the back, there's a wee nut that goes around the front, and that will need tightened as well. And that'll take a lot of that play out of these. Okay, so I'm just about to tighten up the wee nuts at the front end of the guitar, and for that I use this wee device here. This is perfect for this kind of work, but you can only use this one if the strings aren't on. So this is the perfect time to do it. Now this is a ratcheting spanner, which means you don't even have to take it off. It just clicks and moves. It just tightens and then clicks back up and then just tightens again as you tighten. Okay, so I have the camera well zoomed in now, and I'm just hoping that it's staying in focus. Yeah, some of these are very, very loose. Already that's a lot better, so it is. And it's always a good thing to check and make sure that these are tight on any guitar that you own, acoustic or electric. More so on an acoustic guitar, this is very important, because anything that vibrates or moves or is loose on the guitar will kind of eat into the guitar's sound. It'll hamper the string's ability to make the guitar really ring at its full potential. So any kind of loose